Most women think the hardest part of divorce is deciding what to fight for. But the real danger? It's what you don't notice. What you agree to without fully understanding. What gets buried in legal language and quietly signed off, never to be questioned again. On paper, your divorce may look fair. You got a portion of the assets, maybe spousal support, maybe shared custody. But hidden in the fine print are clauses that don't just close the chapter. They limit what comes next. Years later, you're still paying for a decision you didn't even realize you made. It's not about what you gave up during the marriage. It's about what you unknowingly surrendered when you walked away. In this video, we're going to walk through 7 common divorce clauses that seem harmless, even helpful, at first glance. But over time, they can quietly restrict your financial freedom, drain your options, and leave you stuck in ways you never saw coming. And the worst part? These clauses are legal. Standard, even. They're not mistakes. They're built into the system, and most people don't question them until it's too late. So if you're finalizing a divorce now, or you've already signed and want to know what to watch for, keep watching. Because the cost of these clauses isn't always immediate. But the impact? That can last for years. At first, it sounds like a relief. A non-modifiable support clause means the amount of alimony or child support can't be changed, ever. No surprises, no court battles, just stability. And after months of legal stress, that can feel like exactly what you need. But here's the catch. Life changes. And this clause doesn't let you adapt with it. Maybe your ex gets a big promotion 5 years later. Maybe his income triples while you're still scraping by. Or maybe your financial needs grow because of rising costs, health changes, or something you couldn't predict. With this clause in place, you can't ask for more, even if it's clear that the original amount no longer makes sense. This clause freezes your financial rights in time, regardless of what the future brings. It takes away your ability to ever reopen the conversation. A lot of women agree to it thinking they're avoiding future drama. They want finality, peace, closure. But what they're actually doing is giving up one of the most powerful tools they have. The ability to adjust support as circumstances change. And what makes it worse? Courts often enforce these clauses strictly. Once it's signed, it's binding. There's no "that's not fair" argument that can undo it. So before you agree to a support amount that never changes, ask yourself one question. Will this still work for me 5 years from now? Because once this clause is in place, you're not just settling the past. You're locking in your future. It might sound fair on the surface. You both keep joint ownership of the house, but he stays in it. Maybe until the kids finish school, or until he agrees to sell. You still own your share, so technically you're protected. Right? Not exactly. What most women don't realize is that post-divorce co-ownership often turns into a legal trap. You're still financially tied to a property you can't access, can't manage, and can't sell on your own. You're responsible for something you have no control over. And if he refuses to refinance, you stay on the mortgage. If he skips payments, your credit gets hit too. Want to sell your share? Good luck. It's nearly impossible without his cooperation or a court battle. And in the meantime, your money is locked in a house you don't live in, while he gets to decide what happens to it, and when. This clause can leave you stuck for years. You can't buy another property easily because you're still tied to the old mortgage. You can't cash out your equity. And the worst part? You can't move forward, not financially, and not emotionally. Many women agree to co-ownership thinking it's temporary. But temporary can stretch into years, and in that time, your future stays on hold. So if you're considering keeping joint ownership after divorce, make sure the agreement includes strict timelines, refinancing requirements, and exit plans. Because without those protections, you don't just share the property. You share the risk, the debt, and the consequences. This clause is one of those things that seems like a smart safety net. And it can be. Many divorce agreements include a provision requiring your ex to maintain a life insurance policy with you as the beneficiary, especially if he owes long-term spousal or child support. On paper, it ensures that if something happens to him, you're not left without financial support. But here's the problem. Most of these clauses are vague. They say he has to keep a policy, but they don't specify how much coverage, for how long, or even under what kind of insurance. Some don't even require proof that the policy exists. What happens next is predictable. He buys the minimum coverage, lets it lapse, or quietly changes the beneficiary without telling anyone. And unless your agreement has clear enforcement language, regular proof of coverage, locked-in policy details, and legal consequences for non-compliance, you may never know anything changed until it's too late. And by then, there's no going back. The financial fallout from this can be devastating. You thought you had a safety cushion, but it vanished behind paperwork you never followed up on, or language that was never airtight in the first place. So don't just agree to, "He'll maintain insurance." Ask for specifics. Get it in writing. Set deadlines for proof. And make sure your lawyer treats it like what it really is, a long-term financial guarantee, not a vague promise. Because when it comes to insurance, vague doesn't protect you. Only structure does. Here's a harsh truth that too many people find out after the divorce. The court can assign debt, but it can't erase your name from it. If your ex is ordered to take responsibility for a joint credit card, loan, or mortgage, that doesn't mean the creditor will stop coming after you. Why? Because the lender doesn't care what your divorce agreement says. They only care about the original contract you both signed. If your name is on the account, and he stops paying, they'll come for you. And they won't care that the judge said it was his problem. This is how so many women get stuck with wrecked credit, collections calls, and surprise bills. All because they trusted a court order instead of closing the account outright. The divorce said he'd handle the debt. But when he didn't, it was still legally yours. What makes this worse is how often it's overlooked. During negotiations, the focus is usually on assets. Who gets what? Meanwhile, debt just gets assigned, with no plan for actual removal. No forced refinance. No required account closures. Just a promise on paper, and a risk you carry for years. So before you agree to split the debt, get crystal clear. Are your names still tied together? Is the account being closed or refinanced? Are there penalties if he fails to pay? Because a joint liability clause without follow-through isn't a plan. It's a ticking time bomb. At first glance, this one doesn't seem like a big deal. A non-disparagement clause simply says you won't speak negatively about your ex, in public, online, or in front of the kids. It's often sold as a way to keep the peace and avoid future conflict. But here's the part no one warns you about. These clauses can quietly silence you, even when you have every reason to speak. What sounds like a mature agreement can turn into a legal muzzle. You post something vague online about being mistreated? That could violate the clause. You share your story in a podcast, support group, or even a job interview. That might be considered disparagement too. And in some cases, your ex can drag you back into court over it. These clauses aren't always limited to public comments, either. Some are written so broadly, they include any communication that damages reputation, even in private settings. That means you could be punished for telling the truth, simply because the truth doesn't paint your ex in a flattering light. It's one thing to agree not to trash someone out of spite. It's another to give up your voice entirely, especially if part of your healing, or even your safety, depends on being able to speak honestly about what happened. So before you agree to a non-disparagement clause, read it carefully. Ask what it actually covers. And ask yourself, are you okay being legally silenced if your ex decides he doesn't like how you tell your story? Because your right to move on shouldn't come with a gag order. You probably didn't think twice about this one. Somewhere in your agreement, it says alimony ends if you remarry, which seems reasonable. But here's what many women don't catch. In some divorce settlements, it doesn't even take a marriage to cut off your support. Just living with someone can be enough to shut it down. It's called a cohabitation clause, and it's more common than most people realize. You could be in a serious relationship, move in with a partner to share rent or build a new life, and suddenly, your spousal support disappears. Not reduced. Not renegotiated. Just gone. Some agreements are so vague, they leave the definition of cohabitation wide open. You don't have to share finances. You don't have to sign a lease together. Just staying under the same roof for a stretch of time could be interpreted as grounds to terminate support, especially if your ex decides to take you back to court. And the impact? It puts you in a trap. You're financially penalized for moving on. You're forced to choose between emotional companionship and economic survival. And many women, without even realizing it, start living in fear of their own happiness. They keep relationships quiet. They avoid moving in. All because of one clause they barely remember agreeing to. So if you see a remarriage or cohabitation clause in your divorce papers, don't brush it off. Ask what it really means. Ask how it's defined. Because the fine print might be dictating not just your finances, but your freedom to love again. At first glance, it sounds like a fair, civilized solution. If there's a dispute after the divorce, missed payments, custody issues, broken promises, you both agree to try mediation before going to court. It seems like a way to save time, money, and stress. But in reality, this one clause can quietly become a shield your ex hides behind for years. Here's how it works. Let's say your ex stops paying spousal support or delays the sale of a property. You're ready to take legal action, but your agreement requires you to attempt mediation first. That means more scheduling, more legal fees, more waiting, and absolutely no guarantee that anything gets resolved. And until you've completed mediation, you're blocked from getting help through the court system. What looks like a peaceful solution often becomes a weaponized delay tactic. Your ex can drag things out, cancel sessions, or sit through them with no intention of cooperating, all while you remain stuck, unable to enforce what was already agreed upon. Even worse, in high-conflict divorces, being forced back into mediation can feel like being trapped in a room with someone who already broke your trust, while paying professionals to help the situation stall. Mediation has its place. But when it's mandatory, and when it's required before you can access legal enforcement, it can actually make things harder, not easier. So if this clause is in your agreement, ask how it's triggered. Ask how long you're expected to wait. Because fairness shouldn't mean delay. And peace shouldn't mean giving up your right to take action when someone refuses to do what they promised. Looking back, most women don't regret leaving the marriage. They regret not reading the fine print more closely, not asking one more question, not realizing that a few quiet lines in a long document could shape their finances and their freedom for years to come. The truth is, these clauses aren't mistakes. They're legal tools, and depending on how they're used, they can protect you or quietly work against you. Whether it's a non-modifiable support order, a vague insurance requirement, or a cohabitation clause that punishes you for moving on, every word in your agreement matters more than you think. So take a moment. Reread your divorce papers. Look for the details you might have missed. Because your future is built on more than just what you walked away with. It's shaped by what you agreed to carry with you. If you found this video helpful, we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned, or something you wish someone had told you before the paperwork was signed. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Your support helps us keep creating content that informs, protects, and empowers women through every stage of life, especially the ones that are hardest to talk about. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.